All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with another fun-filled, action-packed, non-flipped Algebra 2 classroom video. Today's a very exciting day because it's the last notes of the school year. Unit 15, notes number 5. This is solving rational equations. So everything we've been doing in this unit leads up to these notes. All right, notice right at the beginning, the terminology is a little different, right? What have I been saying this whole time? I've been saying rational expressions. But now, what does the title say? Rational equations. So take a look right here at some examples of expressions and some examples of equations. Just take a gander. What is the difference there? What do you notice is different about expressions and equations? What? What is? Like what is? What are you talking about? Which one are you talking about here? Being very vague.
I'm talking about the 4x.
Yeah, but is that expressions or is that equations? Equations, right. So what's the difference between expressions and equations then? Well, the main thing is that there's an equal sign. Yeah, so equations have an equal sign. Equations have an equal sign. Expressions do not, okay? Remember that was from way back then. So we're solving the rational equations. There's an equal sign. So we're solving. We are trying to find out what x equals. We're trying to solve for x, okay? But with something like this. All right, so these examples will guide us through the steps. All right, so let's take a look at step number 1. This is always the very first step, is you're going to state the restrictions. So once again, how do you find the restrictions?
Equal to the denominator is equal.
Okay, what did you say? You're speaking Spanish over there? X minus 2 equals 0. And then what is the, what's my restriction then? What's my restriction? Okay, it's a restriction, right? So what should I be writing? Should I write x equals, or what sign should I use? Does not equal to, right? It's a restriction. Restriction means you cannot do that, right? If I say you're restricted in this classroom from doing things that the boys do in the boys' restroom, then, you know, that means you can't do that. I don't know. I don't know what happens in there. People are always having like conferences and things in there. All right, so x is not equal to 2. It cannot be 2. All right, so this is a restriction. This is very important, okay? So far, you know, we haven't seen too much with that, but when solving equations, the restriction is very important that you actually state it. All right, so the next step is to find the least common denominator. So check this out. We've got two terms here, right? So what do I need to do if I'm trying to find the least common denominator between these two terms? Because I can't really do it yet. What's weird about the format of this? Yeah, you got to put the 8 over the 1. It needs to be a fraction so I can find the least common denominator. All right, so now, what's the least common denominator going to be? X minus 2. So the left side, that's already x minus 2 on the denominator. What do I need to multiply on the right side to get x minus 2 over x minus 2? Very good. So now, what is my new equation going to say? All right, let's start on the left side. Equals, right? You distribute over x minus 2, right? Okay, so once you get to this point, you see that the denominators are the same on both sides, right? And so that's very helpful because now I can eliminate both denominators with one step. How can I do that? I can eliminate the denominator on both sides with just one step by doing one thing. How would I do that? How do you get rid of a denominator if you're trying to solve? You multiply, right? So what should I multiply by? Let's say I'm looking right here, the x minus 2. I want to get rid of that denominator. What should I multiply by? Yeah, but if I multiply one side, I got to multiply to the other side as well, right? But look at the other side's denominator. It's also x minus 2. So then what does this do?
Cancel.
It cancels out the x minus 2 denominators on both sides. So once you get to that denominators being the same on both sides, it just cancels out. You have? Yeah, so what do you have? Right, that's right. And so then all we're trying to do is solve for x because we're solving equations here. So what do I do to solve for x here? All right, so the shortest way, the shortest way in 2 steps is to You know, there's many ways you can do it, but just the shortest way in 2 steps, subtract 8x. So 4x minus 8x is what? So negative 4x equals negative 16. And then what do I do to finish this out? Divide by negative 4, so x equals? Now, this is the very important part. At the very end, you have to actually have to look at your answer. Because, remember, we have restrictions, right? What's my restriction? But is my answer 2? So it doesn't matter. I can circle this. This is a correct solution. It's actually a solution. Sometimes you're going to get solutions that aren't really solutions. Does anybody remember what that's called? That's the answer, if that happens. But what is it called when you get a solution that's not a solution? How do you describe a solution that's not really a solution? It's an extra solution. What's that word, though? Extraneous, that's right. Wow, Holly. Wow, okay. All right, let's go to the next example. So, what? Oh, the least common denominator? What are you asking? This? That's where we multiplied by x minus 2 on both sides. Yeah. Yeah. All right, so the second example right here. Let's state the restrictions. What are the restrictions here? Can you tell just by looking at it? X does not equal 2. That's right. Okay, so there's my restriction. Very important to have that. And now, what should I do first to this equation?
Set over 1.
Put the 3 over 1, and then now what?
Multiply by x minus 2.
Just x minus 2?
Both sides.
Over x minus 2. And so now what's my new equation? 3x minus 6 because you distributed like you're supposed to. Very good. Over x minus 2. Okay, now that I see the denominators are the same, what should I do? Multiply by x minus 2, right? And what will that do? Right, that will cancel out the denominators, leaving me with x equals 3x minus 6. All right. How do I finish this out in the shortest way possible? Subtract 3x. What is x minus 3x? So negative 2x equals negative 6. What's next? And so x equals? Negative 6 divided by negative 3 is 3. X equals 3. Now, is that a solution?
Yes.
Yes. Why?
Because it is not equal to 2.
It's not equal to your restriction. That's right. Good. Okay, so let's turn to the back side. All right. Probably not going to do, we're going to do A or B. Do you want to do A or B? Both of them are the same steps, so we're not going to do both of them. Which one do you want to do? A. Okay, so, all right, what's the very first thing you do? Tell me the steps.
2 over 1.
That's not the first thing.
X is not equal to
X is not equal to 4. Just spitting out. All right, X is not equal to 4, right. How did you know that? The denominator, right. Okay, so then now what's next? 2 over 1. Right, we're trying to multiply for the least common denominator. And so what is my new equation?
X over x minus 4 equals 2x minus 8 over x.
That's right, okay. Here we are, I got the same denominators. Now what? Multiply x minus 4 on both sides, that's right. And what will that do to our equation? Cancel out what? The denominators, right. Which leaves me with?
X equals 2x minus 8.
And how will I solve this one?
Subtract 2x each side. That'll be
negative x.
negative x.
Negative x equals negative 8, and then
Divide by negative 1.
divide by negative 1, and so x equals?
X equals 8.
X equals 8, right. And is that a solution?
Yes.
Yes, why?
It's not
It's not equal to your restriction, right. Good, nice, you guys are killing this. Okay, let's go to C though. So C now starts to look a little different, but this process is still the exact same. What is our very first step that we always do? The restriction. What is the restriction here?
X is not equal to 3.
Whoa, 3 is not a variable. We only look at where the x's are. So x is not equal to? 0, yeah. So Trey's been saying x is not equal to 0. That's the only one, right? This is a number, so that's already set in stone. We don't have to worry about that. Nah, it's only where the variables are. Okay, So then, what is the next step that we always do?
2 over 1.
2 over 1. And now, what do you think comes next?
Multiply the denominators by 3. The ones underneath.
So,
Well, like,
Multiply by 3.
you're going to multiply. So, every one's going to be multiplied by something different, right? But what you want to do is find the least common denominator, right? What is the least common denominator between 3x and 1? 3x, right? All of these denominators can be multiplied by something to bring them to 3x, right?
3x over 3x.
So how will I multiply 10 over 3 to get it to 3x as the denominator? X. So we multiply by x over x. Right? What about 4 over x? What do I need to multiply this by to get 3x on the bottom? 3 over 3, very good.
And that will be 3x over 3.
Right, and the last one, I need to multiply by 3x over 3x. And so now I've got 3 new fractions, so what is my new equation going to say?
10x over 3x.
Equals?
12 over 3x plus
6x plus 3x.
Right. So all my denominators are the same, so what do you think I can write in my next step?
Multiply by 3x and this
Right, so if you're multiplying by 3x on both sides, this is what it actually looks like. Okay, so 3x right here, and then I would technically have to do this times 3x, and by doing it like this, distributing this 3x to both of these terms, that will cancel out all of the denominators. So what's left?
10x
10x
equals 12
plus 6x
Right, and how will I solve this?
minus 6x.
minus 6x.
And 4x equals 12
Divide by 4.
Then x equals 3.
X equals 3. Is that a solution?
Yes.
Yes, it is. Very good.
You have to circle the restriction.
What?
You have to circle the restriction.
No, that's just something that we're going to see how that affects our answers, right? But you don't need to do anything extra with that, really. All right, let's take a look at D. This one's going to be a little different. So on D, let's start here. What's the first step?
X is not equal to 0.
X is not equal to 0. That's right. That's the restriction right here. And now what's next? Put the 1 under the X and
6.
under the 6. That's right. So what's my LCD, my least common denominator, going to be here? Just X, right. So what do I need to multiply? Oh, X over X where?
6.
Right. And to the 6 over 1, right? So now I've got some new fractions. What's my new equation going to say?
X squared equals plus 8x.
Right, like this. X squared over X plus 8 over X equals 6x over X. And so now, what do you think I can write on the next step?
Times 6. How many times x?
All right, so guys, notice that, right, if you write X, that's writing an extra step, and that is what's happening. But notice, right, whenever we get the same denominator on all of it, what's actually happening? The denominators are just canceling out, are they not?
We just cancel.
Yeah, so you can really just, you don't need to write that extra step. Once you see that all the denominators are the same, you can go ahead and go x squared plus 8 equals 6x. But once you get there, how can I find out what x equals based on this equation? Because I'm not going to be able to subtract.
You cancel that's the answer.
What? Can't do that because there's an 8 attached to it. What? Yeah, so, okay. Wait, what's your name? Zoe. Okay, so Zoe says we're going to make it set equal to 0. Now, why would we do that? How are you going to set it equal to 0?
Subtract 6x is equal to 0.
Yeah, and why would I do that, though? So we can factor. That's right. When you see something like this, look, I see the x squared term, I see the number, I see the x term, right? That should be a big red light that we're probably going to be factoring this one. So x squared minus 6x plus 8 equals 0. The order does matter, remember. Go highest degree to lowest degree. And so now we're going to factor it out using Xbox, or if you can do it in your head. So if I factor it out, what is it going to be?
X minus 4 and x minus 2.
Right. Equals 0. And so how do I actually get my x values then from this? Set it equals 0, so I get x minus 4 equals 0. X equals 4 and? And are those solutions? Yes, they are. Why? Because your restriction was 0, right? All right. So now let's go to the last two examples of the day. That's true. That's true. Solve, check solutions, give restrictions. Okay. So very first step. What are we doing first here? On A.
Cancel out.
No. What's first? What do I do?
Oh,
Restriction. What is it?
X is on 3.
Right. And so then now what do I do? That as you guys are saying.
just cancel out x minus
Right. I don't need to find the LCD or anything.
No.
Why?
Because it's already
It's already the same. That's right. So don't need those. So what's left?
3x plus
And how do I solve for x?
subtract 2x.
So x equals
No solution.
no solution. That's right. Why is that? Because our restriction said x cannot equal 3. I got my answer is 3, so that's not a real solution. That's an extraneous solution, which means that there is no solution. Very good. Nice. And let's go to the last example then. Oh boy. That's right. So, okay, spoiler alert, Omar. With the you have to factor the x squared minus 16 before you can do anything. Very good. So that's what you need to recognize first. What is factor 2?
X minus 4.
Right? Okay, and now that I factor, what can I do after I factor? The restrictions. What are the restrictions? That's right. X is not equal to 4. X is not equal to negative 4. Okay. What do you think I have to do next? Can I do that right now? What do I have to do? The denominators aren't the same, are they?
Don't you have to multiply those
That's right. You have to multiply on the right side by
x plus 4?
over. And why did I have to do that?
So you can be the same.
So they can have the same denominator. That's right. And so now my new equation is going to be 16 over x plus 4 equals what?
2x.
Right, you got to distribute, so you get 2x plus 8 over the same denominator, x minus 4 times x plus 4. Now, right, the denominators are the same, so we can just ignore them, cancel them out, whatever. Boom. What's left?
16
And so what am I going to do to solve? Subtract 8. So we get 8 equals 2x, and then what do I need to do? Divide by 2. What's my answer? 4. X equals 4, so that is no solution because my restriction was 4. 4 is one of my restrictions, so no solution. All right, guys, and that ends our last notes of the whole entire school year. Oh my goodness, that's crazy. So I guess, well, there's still going to be review videos for the final, but that's going to be it, guys. Not see you next time. All right, the end.